Okay, so we just built the tabernacle, just got the directions from God up on the mountain. Moses comes down, all the people are giving all this stuff, they're going through all these intricate instructions. Here's how you do it, Moses. Moses comes down, here's how you do it. Then the people then they did it just as Moses, Adonai told Moses. So got done building this beautiful tabernacle, this beautiful framework, which happens to, by the way, look very much like a heavenly tabernacle that some of the Canaanites used to worship, but theirs was supposed to be up in the heavens for their God that they worshiped, this particular God that they worshiped. But the one that was even up in the heavens that their God was, that was like his dwelling place, there was something different in their most holy place. There was a cot because their God, sometimes he had to get his rest, he had to sleep. And there was a chest for, their God to put his clothes in because, he had a body and stuff. So he had to change clothes now and then, his clothes got dirty. So, so there are some peculiarities. So imagine when the Israelites come into the land of Canaan to conquer it, and their God has a dwelling place that looks exactly like their God's dwelling place. What's going through their mind? But it's on earth. What different sort of thought? I'm not going to put them into your mind. Is our God on their side? Might be what, right? Maybe they find out that there's something different. What's good? Why doesn't he need a bed? Our God never slumbers or sleeps. Right? So there are differences. But we just finished building this tabernacle, this big, beautiful tabernacle, and going through all the different commandments about what kind of sacrifices are supposed to be made, and what they're supposed to be made for, who they're supposed to be made for, all this kind of stuff. We consecrate the priests, set them aside, and describe to them the duties they're supposed to do, put them in the priestly garb, go through all of that. All these different instructions, what they're supposed to do for people in this situation, that situation. Okay, you got it. It's all written out in case you forget. Here's go in there and look. This is where you look. Yada, yada, yada. You ready to go? All right, let's do it. All the people come, consecrate the priest. It starts Moshe walks through the initial sacrifices with them, shows them exactly what to do. And then they go and do the first ones themselves. Everything's great. Everything's perfect. There was no way for people to have atonement before that. There was nothing. Think about how great this was. Now you had a way, if you did something wrong in God's eyes against his commandments, now there was a way. For the first time, now there was a way where you could clear your conscience, where you could say, okay, how do I make it right, God? What am I supposed to do? What can I possibly do? There's nothing, right? Now there's something. Now there's finally something. There's a system set up. And now it's being instituted. It's actually going into effect. Imagine you're there and you're one of them. You know what I mean? This is very cool. The God who saved us, all the miracles that we just saw, that got us out of Egypt, which was amazing, right? We just walked through the sea. I mean, think of all the miracles. The sun is blotted out. All the Egyptian gods conquered one at a time. The god of the frogs, the god of this, the god of that. All of them conquered one at a time, going in hierarchical order until the final one, the god of the sun, is blotted out. And then beyond that, the guy in charge of their system on the earth, Pharaoh, his son, the next Pharaoh, gone. So now the system is being put into effect, and everything goes great. Everything's good. The fire of God falls down on the place and consumes the sacrifices. Imagine that. Whoosh. I mean, when I go to that Holy Land experience in Orlando and see this, that little cloud, that little man-made, manufactured cloud, I just think that's beautiful. Well, I think clouds are beautiful to begin with. We're tornado junkies. Like a Tornado Alley show comes on or something. I mean, we got, oh man, it's just so beautiful. The power, something about that. I don't want to see them up close necessarily, at our house in particular, but they're beautiful. And the power. Imagine this thing of this cloud of fire that they follow. It's always there in the nighttime that they're following through the wilderness. Imagine one just coming down out of nowhere suddenly and consuming the sacrifice, whoosh, and it's gone. And everyone's like, whoa. Except for two guys. They're like, whoa, too. They're like, whoa, too, like everybody else. But then they say, man, let's try this now. like, let's do this. And we don't know exactly what they're doing, but somehow it says they offered strange fire. They used some other incense pans and put some other kind of strange stuff in there that God didn't command. He never commanded. He didn't say anything. They're all done. They're supposed to be done. They put some other stuff. What happens to them? Whoosh. How the fire comes down and it consumes them. Apparently it's very serious to God. Apparently it's important. Anyway, okay, so he was very particular when he told us what to do, and we're supposed to be a light to the world to show other people what to do. So that, in essence, seems to suggest that other people, because it says, other people will see you, see what great laws these are, and they'll give God the glory for that. And you would think that these are the ways of life. They would want to follow these ways of life, and and accept them and follow those ways. That's kind of a logical, and you could take that to different conclusions and whatever, or not take them there. So you have this thing going on all the time. This battle of what are we supposed to do as Messianics about that day? Do we do it too? Do we celebrate his birth some other day? And there are different answers out there. And there are biblical principles that you should take into account. This is my bottom line. There are basic biblical principles you should take into account. However you can sort those out in your mind, that's your priority. Pleasing God, that's your priority. Following the Torah, that's your priority. You know what I mean? That's your priority, obeying God. Now look, in a sense, you can worship God and be thankful to God that he sent his Messiah into the world every day. Not every day except for that day, right? But then sit and think about what sort of things do we do to celebrate, right? And that's important too. Like we just talked about. All right, there we go. So I'm sorry. We have more. Huh?
So we have another song.
We have another song. Yeah. Okay, so I'll stop the recording. We'll be back on in a little while. About what? 8 minutes? Something like that. Something like 8 minutes.